Welcome to pre-reading for Caligula. Now, you'll notice that the subtitle here, or the chapter, it was actually a book for Suetonius, is this. So, Caligula was a nickname. He went by Gaius, and that's the way that it's listed in the official Latin text of Suetonius. So here we are in Gaius chapter 19, and of course that's a reference to Caligula. Now, what are we supposed to expect in this reading? Well, we get a little insight into the life of this young emperor who's got a lot of power and a lot of influence. This particular escapade is quite innocuous, and what I mean by that is it's not along the lines of what we were reading with Tiberius as far as perversion and cruelty. In a sense, it's just kind of stupid. It's very ostentatious, I should say. He obviously wants to be the center of attention. He did grow up with some kind of deficit in his childhood. What we have here, the setting that you see in the back of your book, there's a map showing the Bay of Naples, and this takes place down by Baia. Okay? Baia is mentioned a couple of times. Baia was like the Las Vegas of the ancient Roman world. It was the playground of the rich and famous. Every kind of luxury you wanted was there. And so we find the emperor down there. He had an estate down there. We know that from Nero because finally that's where he ends up murdering his mother. But he does this seemingly pointless thing about building a bridge across the bay and riding a horse back and forth. Okay, that's kind of the general gist of it. But now the question is why? Well, one of the neat little things in this particular episode is that Suetonius gives us some insight into local history. In other words, he relates a story that his grandfather told him. His grandfather, who lived in the area and was on good terms with people who worked for the royal family. And so there was speculation why he would do something so brash and flamboyant. But it was Suetonius's grandpa who, I think, provides us with the most plausible explanation for this outlandish feat that Caligula ordered to be done. Now, there's one other thing here in the text. You'll note this dagger. That is explained in the notes in the back of the book. Please take a moment to read that. What we have here is textual speculation. What they are suggesting, what the author suggests in the back of the book is that the corrupted text, and this does happen with old texts, could be simply amended by adding the word odd, because it does seem kind of strange. But then again, Puteoli is a town, and we do know that names of towns and small islands, Domus, Humus, and Rus, routinely omit the odd. But the problem is this word seems to be more of an adjective, Puteolian. Okay, so it would be ad moles. Now, moles can mean a mass. You may remember that from chemistry class, that this is one of the ways in which you weigh atoms. You calculate the moles, right? But here in this context, mole means something else. We'll come to that in a second, okay? Now, let's get to the Latin text. Again, we see him starting with the accusative, or it could be, actually I take that back. Here we have genus, which is a neuter noun. So It's a novum genus and an inauditum genus. Okay? Here we have this word again, excogito. This was a verb we just had the last reading with Tiberius, to dream up, to imagine. Okay? Now, what did he imagine? Well, uh, your book has a note on this phrase here too, and is quite helpful. Now, the word moles here, I'm going to suggest that you go with the uh, translation piers. It can be a mound of dirt, that's true. It can be a mass of just about anything. But one of the things that it seems to be are the piers that stick out into the ocean. The docks, we might say. Okay? So, that definition is given in the back of the book in the dictionary. This is a measurement across the Bay of Baia. Okay? So make sure that you get the accurate measurement. Now, Ponte conjunxit contractis undeque honorarius nauibus et ordine duplici ad ancorus conlocatis superiotoque terreno at directo in Appia viae formam. All right, a bridge across the bay. I'm going to pause here a minute and find something. Now, I'm bringing this up. It's a picture of a very famous episode in ancient Greek history. This is the famous bridge over the 2-mile span at the narrowest point of the Hellespont. It was created in 480 BC or so, according to Herodotus, the Greek historian. It was created in 480 BC as Xerxes was preparing to invade Greece, so he invaded the north first. But we have this elaborate description of Xerxes building this pontoon bridge, and you can see right here there's people walking, and then they raised these walls so that the elephants and the horses couldn't see the ocean, and they actually covered this all with planks and dirt. Okay? And so the idea was that Gaius, or Caligula, was so impressed by this that he wanted to reenact this. Now, you can see here also we have guards standing on the shore, but he mentions, Suetonius mentions that, we have 2 rows, okay, kind of like this, and then they're anchored. So very similar to the depiction that we have here in the picture of Xerxes crossing the Hellespont. Okay, so this was a famous episode in Greek and Persian war history, and it, like I said, it goes back to the year 490 BC. Okay, so now back to the text. And this is kind of what this is all getting at. So, be suspicious of ablative absolutes. Okay. Now, here you see the word for bridge. Okay, but notice what case it is. So, he joined, okay, and now contractis. What kind of nauibus are they? They are contractis. Now, this word honorarius, you see the word onus in it. I would translate this cargo ships. Okay, so they are ships that bear a burden, freighter or barge or something like that. But honorarius, it has at its root onus, the word for burden. So it's not a military ship. It's not like, a battle, trireme or anything like that. These seem to just have been flat, open barges or storage ships, okay? And duplici ordini. Remember, third declension adjectives pick up that I in the ablative. And ad ancoras conlocatis, okay? Now, superiecto terreno. Okay. Now the back of the book gives you this adjective terrenus, and it means earthen. But notice in the definition, if you read a little further, you can also use it as a neuter noun, and that's really the best way to take it here. Okay, Iachio super terreno. Okay, earth or ground, and directo. Okay, and so this ponte, this bridge, okay, is also directo. Now, what does this mean? You know, in Appia via formam. Well, the Appian Way was the first interstate system road going south from Rome, built in about the mid 300s by Claudius Appius, Appius Claudius Caecus, the blind. Okay, so it was a very famous highway, and he's saying it was built in formam Appii Viae. Okay, now your book gives you this combination of adverbs, but then this verb just means about the same thing. How long did this last? By duo continenti. Then he's going to describe what happens on day one. Okay? Now we have some technical terms here, but it's really quite straightforward. Okay, so we have what kind of equo with a falorato equo, and notice what case is this adjective. Okay, and this quercia, the quercus, is the oak tree, so we would say some kind of oaken corona, right? Et caetra, these are technical terms, but they're all in the book, right? So he had this, and then he had this, and then he had this as well. So he's strutting its stuff. And then here is day two. Okay, now what did he do then? Okay, now the quadrigas, you may remember, is the 4-horse chariot. But here, it's in habitu, in the dress of a 4-horse charioteer. Okay, dressed like a quadrigas, quadrigarius, you could even say, dressed in that way, and curriculo biugi. Now, joined together, right? Two joined, famasorum equorum. Okay, and prae, here the preposition with the ablative. Here we have, it's this curriculo that is ferens darium. Who's he? He is a puerum ex parthorum, ex obsidibus parthorum. Okay, so that refers to this guy. It's just his name, Darius. Okay, then ablative absolute. Okay, it's a long ablative absolute, but just find the subdivisions. Here's the first one, amatate et in esse amicorum. All right, so why in the world would he do this? Well, here is an important phrase, skio. I know. What are you expecting? Did you say ACI? Good. Did you not say ACI? Why not? I know that. Okay, here's my accusative, here's my infinitive. Okay, now, talem pontem. Okay, what kind of ablative with a passive verb? Okay, what kind of pontem? Well, it's a talem pontem ex cogitatum, and he did this in emulation or admiration of Xerxes. And who, okay, now be careful, this is what we call Lydides, okay. Notice the comparative here. It's referring to the Hellespont. Okay, the Hellespont literally means the bridge to Greece, but it's a narrowing in the Black Sea Channel, right? that it's only 2 miles across. Now, that's what he means by angustiorum. It was narrower, the narrower Hellespont. Okay? So some people said he did this because he admired Xerxes. All right? Now, but others believe something else. Okay? Ut terrararet. Okay? And I would take this particular word as an ablative, as the notes indicate. Fama, by the report. Not by the fame, but by the report. And I'm expecting a genitive, right? It goes back to here. Here's my genitive clause. Okay? Now, here comes kind of the punchline. Said Awameam, when I was a boy, puer audia ebam, when I was a boy listening to, okay, Awameam, what kind of Awameam is he? He's an Arantim, okay? What kind of cause do we have here? The reason, okay, proditam, put forward. Okay, so the explanation that was given ab intorioribus aulicis. Okay, here's the reason. Now, this sounds kind of strange, but Tiberius frequently consulted this guy. Now, you can translate it as mathematician. You can also translate it as astrologer. Okay, Tiberius this is his state of mind. He is anxio de successore. Okay, and so he wants to find out who the next emperor is going to be. Now, your notes tell you should translate this his natural or true godson, not an adopted son. Okay, so Thrasyllus affirmaset. Okay, what am I expecting? He affirmed, that's right, that, here's my subject, okay, now I'm missing the essay here and I'm missing the essay here, okay, so he makes this bizarre comparison, okay, so in our day and age we might say something, well, just to use a dumb childhood example, okay, when the cow jumps over the moon or something. So Thrasyllus made this a comparison about saying that Caligula would never be emperor. That's what he means by Gaius. Okay, until equis discursum per bianum sinum. Now, sinum is a sinus or a cavity. It can also mean like a purse or the fold in the lap of a toga. It can mean all those things, but here what he's referring to is the bay of Baia. Okay? It's not quite the same as Botany Bay from Star Trek, where they exiled Khan. But, so he made this wild prediction, and it was Suetonius's grandpa who said, this is why he did this bizarre thing, because he was trying to prove this prophecy wrong. Okay, so there were three explanations given on this page why Caligula did this bizarre thing in the Bay of Baia. All right, make sure you understand all three. All right, but my grandfather, when I was a boy listening to my grandfather telling it, he told that the causam proditum operis ab intoribus aulicis was quod, because, or you could translate it that. Okay. Now, what's interesting, I just caught this, and I just want to make sure that you understand it. In Latin, when we have the actual cause, it's put into the indicative. But here, when we have a speculated cause, or the rumor has it that, here we very naturally find the subjunctive. So it's not something that can be proven. And so it's more of an assertion than a fact, okay? All right, that ends pre-reading. We're at 20 minutes. Wow, pre-reading for Gaius, chapter 19 by Suetonius. Wale.